I'm Anne. Welcome back to my channel. This is Intentional Joy Beyond 60. And I apologize, I've missed a couple of days. Things have happened, but we're back on. So we are going to continue with our 30-day challenge. I hope if you have watched the other videos that you are still doing the 30-day challenge to find intentional joy every day. And we will do that today too. However, today I also wanted to talk to you about some of my experiences. I've worked in senior living for many, many years. I've managed retirement residences in Ontario. I've also worked in home care in that industry for about 10 years. So as I start to plan for my own senior years, I'm going to be using a lot of the lessons that I have learned throughout my career. And I thought it might be useful for me to do some videos for you so that I can share my experiences and hopefully you can take away some nuggets of information that may help you plan your journey. The first thing I wanted to talk to you about today is how to maintain your independence and continue to thrive at home. Very often, as I worked in retirement living, when prospective residents were coming to tour the building, very often it was a family member who was coming to tour an adult child, because keep in mind, at least where I am in Ontario, my experience has been that people moving into retirement tend to be a lot older. I just turned 60. You're not going to find, it's rare that you'll find someone my age in a retirement residence. It's typically someone in their 80s, 90s, closer to 100 that we're seeing them come through. People want to stay home for as long as they can these days. And I can understand that. If you've owned your own home or you've lived in your own home for 50, 60 years, it's tough. It's a big transition to make that move. Now, having said that, I do believe that there is a time and a place. There are some wonderful retirement residences out there that do amazing work, some really wonderful people, really caring people who work in that industry. And so I'm going to go through with you in another video, when does it make sense to move into retirement residence and what does it look like? What should you be looking for when you go to tour the homes? Well, in another video yet again, we'll talk about the long-term care process. What's the next step after retirement and what does that look like? What does aging in place mean and all of those good things. But for today, I want to focus on those of us who are younger seniors trying to maintain our independence, still thrive in our environment at home. That's me. So I came up off the top of my head with about 10 things that I'm going to be putting into place for myself as I age that I would encourage you to consider as well. I'm all about informed choice, informed decision making. And that's always what I strived for with the residents that I've worked with. It's what I plan to do for myself. I think knowledge is power. So I want to give you as much information as I possibly can so that you can make informed decisions for yourself about what you need to be healthy, independent, thrive, and continue to have fun as we age. So, as I said, there's about a list of 10. There's probably going to be a lot more after this video that I can think of, but that may be another video. We're going to do a series, so we'll see how it goes. The first thing that I thought about is social interaction and human connection. Very often when people were coming to tour the retirement residences that I worked in, I heard, mom and dad don't socialize, many of their friends have passed away, they really don't have anybody else their own age to interact with. If they move in here and you have activities, don't expect them to participate because really mom just sits and watches TV all day and she really doesn't want to talk to anybody. And I always said, that's great. Thank you for sharing that with me. What I have to tell you though, however, is very often what we find is that when people move into a retirement residence and they start interacting with other people their own age, and they start making friendships, it's those friends who draw them out into the activities. And so as much as the staff are wonderful and they encourage them, it's really the other residents that really draw them out because then they're able to make friends. And it's true that as we get older, we start to lose people. I have an aunt who is in her 80s, just recently made the move to a retirement community. Lived at home for a long time. In her early 80s, she was still like sanding her back deck and putting on her high-heeled shoes and doing her full makeup and That's so not going to be how I age, I can tell you, but she is amazing. And we happen to share the same name, so I just adore her. But anyway, very often, as I say, people kind of become reclusive as they get older. And so it's really important to make sure you have those connections. Now, my sister and brother-in-law were really smart. They moved into a community when they retired. They sought out a community, did a whole bunch of research about various communities, toured a bunch of different communities. And I'm not talking about buildings. I'm talking about actual towns, neighborhoods. They bought a new build in a small town east of us, and they absolutely love it. And it worked out so well for them because although that community also has younger families, they have a core group of retirees where they are that they've been able to connect with, and they do supper clubs and they travel together, and they do parties together, and they watch out for each other. If someone's not well, they kind of cook for each other and bring each other food, and they just watch out for each other. So they have this new community. Now, my sister and brother-in-law are very fortunate in that they have many long-term friends since, going back to high school days. They've been very fortunate, but they have this wonderful new community now as well that they've been able to integrate into their lives, and they have this so much fun. My sister after dinner every day goes for a walk with the ladies who walk. She has a book club every month that she does with these ladies. So social interaction, social connection is so important. And if you're in an area that doesn't have that kind of community group or community connection, if you're feeling a little bit more isolated, then I would encourage you to seek out seniors community centers, places that have day programs. If you are someone who goes online, go online and do a Google search for seniors groups. Go on Facebook and look for seniors groups in your area that are 60 and over, 70 and over, whatever the age group happens to be for you. Seek out that human connection. Don't sit at home alone, because that's when we find that people tend to get depressed and they start to lose some of their mobility. Your mobility is so important as we age. We need to keep moving. And I actually had exercise as number 6 on my list, but we can jump around the list, that's okay. Our muscles, they kind of, as we're aging, if we don't, it's like the old saying, right? If you don't use it, you lose it. And so as we age, we lose muscle mass. And it's really important to continue to exercise. And, my sister has a friend who makes sure she gets her actually my sister does too, I think, gets her 10,000 steps in every day, and they do the step count. I haven't started doing that yet. I think I should. I think I need to start doing that. Sometimes, when we're driving, and I've been driving for a long time, and I go out for a walk with my sister, who is, I might add, a few years older than me. She seems to have much more stamina than I have, and I'm out of breath more quickly. And I think it's because I spend too much time in the car or sitting at a desk, or I'm not moving as much as I need to be. So that needs to be a bigger focus for me. And I would encourage you to seek out ways to do more moving. Working in the garden, if you love to do that, that's good. Anything that gets you moving. A walk is really, really good for us. So, Tai Chi is something that I'd like to learn. Qigong is another thing that I'd like to learn. Anything that gets you moving. Yoga. Gentle with yoga. I love, my friend used to teach restorative yoga. It's very gentle, it's slow. I can lie on the floor and do all these wonderful stretches. And I do that. I still do that. But, it's really important that we move. I can't stress that enough. People as we age. I've worked with seniors who have wonderful mobility. I think in my first video or my second video, I talked about a lady who lived to be 107. She walked with a walker, but it was more of a safety net, because when we put music on and we all started dancing, she tossed that walker aside and she was dancing. That lady could boogie. So it's really important. I've also seen seniors that were younger. The lady I mentioned was 107 when she passed. I've seen seniors in their early 70s who were in wheelchairs, and mobility was a real struggle for them. And I very often say that we're at a stage now where we get to decide what our senior years look like. So I'm going to decide now to make sure that I'm getting more exercise, that I'm moving more, so that I can maintain my mobility for as long as I can, especially if you have issues like arthritis, and we really need to take care of those things and keep moving, just keep moving. So other things that can keep us safe in our home, in our environment, things like arranging for snow removal, landscaping services, housekeeping. You want to make sure that decluttering, is happening. We want to make sure that there's nothing lying around, no cords, extension cords. You want to look at your area rugs. Make sure that there's nothing that could potentially be a trip hazard. Trips, slips and falls are very serious as we age, and very often that can be the greatest cause of breaking a hip or a broken bone. Our bones do become much more brittle, and it's much easier to break a bone as we age. And I have seen far too many people. I saw one lady, oh my goodness, she was walking with a walker, and this lady leans over. She doesn't use the walker as really it's intended. You're intended to be straight up, and it should be measured by an occupational therapist and the right size for you. And anyway, she would lean over on it, and she was wearing this beautiful pashmina scarf, and it went right down to the floor, and she raced along. It was like she was in a race every time she went down the hallway. And of course, the pashmina got caught in the wheels of her walker, and she went head over feet over the walker and ended up having to go to hospital. Thank heavens she did not break her hip, but I have seen other people, other seniors, where they did have a fall, and it was less of a fall than that lady had, and broke a hip, and it required surgery, and then there's a recovery stage and rehab, and we really don't want that. So just have a look at your environment. Make sure that you have nothing lying around on the floor that could cause a trip, slip, or fall. Check your shoes, make sure your shoes are the right size. If they have laces, make sure that the laces are the right length, that they're not too long, you're not going to trip over your laces. Velcro might be a better option as we get older. In the shower, maybe put a seat in there. That brings us to another number on our list of 10 is equipment for your home. So you could have an occupational therapist come out and assess your home. It's a good idea to have someone come out and do an assessment to make sure that you're safe in your environment. And so as you're aging, and if your mobility is starting to become an issue, an occupational therapist can order and measure and make sure you have the right equipment that you need. And that could include anything from what they call a Siska pole, that is a pole that can go beside your bed, that goes from the floor to the ceiling, that you can pull yourself up on. They can put that beside your toilet too, for that matter. You could get a raised toilet seat. You could have poles put into your shower, into your bathtub area, to help you to grab onto, like grab bars. They could put rails along the side of your bed to help you grab on and lift yourself up. An occupational therapist is a great resource. And so if you're starting to feel a little wobbly, then I would encourage you to seek out an occupational therapist to do an assessment. And that brings me to, I am really jumping around on this list, I have to say. But that brings me to number 10 on the list, and we have not done all 10, but home care is what I had listed as number 10, because an occupational therapist will usually come to you, if you're in Ontario at least. In Ontario, we have what's called Ontario Health at Home, and that organization has changed names a multitude of times over the years throughout my career. It's a government-funded agency, and they have nurses, physiotherapists, and all kinds of healthcare professionals who act as care coordinators. And they will have someone come to your home and do an assessment to determine what services you qualify for that may be government funded, and what services you need. And so if you, let's say you're struggling a little bit in the morning, let's say you're somebody with arthritis and mornings are tough for you, you may qualify to have someone, a PSW, a personal support worker, come to your home 3 days a week for an hour each morning. And they may help you to get up in the morning and maybe get a shower and do some light meal prep for you, that kind of thing. It would also be that care coordinator that helped with the referral to an occupational therapist if you wanted an OT to come to your home to assess for equipment that you may need to stay safe in your environment. Or if you need physiotherapy or social work or any of those other types of services, and a care coordinator through Ontario Health at Home would be the person to make those referrals for you, and then they would follow up to make sure the services are going the way that they should be. So I'm happy to research other provinces, wherever you happen to be living, what that agency or how you would go about getting those services where you are. If you would like, just leave me a comment and let me know where you are, and I'm happy to help you with that. As I said, in Ontario, it's on Ontario Health at Home. The province is divided up geographically, and so there's a different office depending on which area of Ontario you're in, and I can leave a link for you so that you can access the website for Ontario Health at Home and then start getting that resource if you need it. And maybe you don't need it right now, maybe it's just something that you can keep in your back pocket for the future. What else? Did we talk about adult community centers, day programs? That was kind of under the social connection section. Oftentimes there are, at some of the adult community centers, they will have dances. You can go for maybe once a month, they'll have a seniors dance and meet people. And, you know, I've known some seniors who were happy to be single, and I've known some that really wanted to be part of a couple. And so I'm just telling you that as we age, the libido doesn't die. And the need for human connection, human contact is, it continues, and it's important. So yeah, seek out the adult day programs. Sometimes they do outings, they do trips, go on picnics, go shopping. It's nice to get together with a group and do some of those things. They often have workshops. And as I said, they have dances as well sometimes. So seek that out in your area and see what's available to you. Volunteering, that's another great thing to maintain social connection. I've known, and some of the people in my sister's neighborhood who are retired volunteer at the local hospital. There are all kinds of places, animal shelters. So that might be something you want to do as well to maintain that social connection. There are also older adult travel groups you could look into, or other groups in your area that do activities. You can go on Facebook as well and seek out groups for your age. I think I mentioned that already. We've talked about exercise, nutrition. That is a huge one. It's important to make sure that we're eating well and we're a little more careful as we age. I don't know about you, but I find as I age, my favorite thing used to be on a Friday night to sit down and have a couple of slices of pizza and a couple of glasses of wine. I was never a huge drinker, but Friday night, that was my thing. Nice Pinot Grigio and some pizza. Well, now that I'm 60, I can tell you if I do that, I have heartburn the next day. I have joint pain. My body is rejecting it. My body is telling me, and your body speaks to you. And I think it's really important that we listen to our bodies. So as you eat, please just take note. What's affecting you and how is it affecting you? And if you find that something is affecting you adversely, maybe give it up for a while. Maybe do an elimination diet and then slowly put things back in to see what it is that's affecting you and how is it affecting you. Having a consultation with a nutritionist is a really great idea. Now, I don't know if that is something that you could get through a care coordinator with Ontario Health at Home. It's possible, but I kind of feel like it might be something you have to pay for. Still well worth it in my opinion. Intermittent fasting is something that I have found helpful. So that might be something you want to look up. But again, before you do anything, before you make any big changes, check with your doctor. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, so don't make any dietary changes based on what I tell you. I'm just kind of telling you what works for me, but I would encourage you to work out what works for you. Maybe have a look at, and if you're speaking with a nutritionist, anti-inflammatory foods. I find that as I'm aging, I find inflammation is a real issue for me. So I have to be careful what kind of foods are going to trigger me to feel well and what things are going to trigger me to feel unwell. So that's important. And then also sleep. Your sleep habits are so important. Getting a good, healthy night's sleep it really sets you up for a good day or for a not so good day. And I know as we age, it's more difficult to have a good night's sleep. Oftentimes it's disrupted. We get up in the middle of the night, you have to go pee, you wake up and then you can't get back to sleep. So there are some things that you can do to support healthy sleep habits. And that would be things like turning off your screens and your TV and your phone at least an hour before you go to bed. Make sure your room is dark, unless you're someone who likes white noise. Maybe you're someone who needs the sound of the ocean when you go to sleep. That's okay. Whatever works for you. Maybe you need the light canceling curtains so that your room is completely pitch black. Maybe you need a night light. I don't know. Whatever works for you. Just I know that routine is important when it comes to sleep. Sometimes having a shower or a bath before you go to bed helps to calm you. That might be helpful. So I would encourage you to do whatever you need to do, whether it means getting a new mattress or pillow topper, whatever it is, try to get the best sleep possible, because I promise you, you will feel so much better and your body will be so much happier if you're sleeping well. If you're not sleeping well, maybe have a conversation with your doctor about why that is and see what your doctor can recommend. Okay, we talked about an OT assessment, equipment in the home. Oh, one thing I didn't mention was technology in the home. So as we age, if you're starting to find that you're having issues with mobility, it might be something to consider to wear a bracelet or a pendant, have technology in your home that can detect falls if you have one. And that can relay back, if you have a fall, it will relay the information back to a call center that will then call your family or call emergency services, so that someone knows that you've had a fall and they can come and help you get up. It's worth looking into. And again, this may be something you don't need today, but in a few years you might need it. So it might be a good idea to keep that in your back pocket. We talked about home care. I think my little puppy is just sitting here licking me. I think we've covered everything on this list now. That was a pretty good list. If you can think of anything else that I have not thought of that I didn't put on this list in this video today, please share with me in the comments. I'm happy to add it to another video, or we can have a conversation about it another time. And again, I think the next video is going to be about moving to a retirement residence. What does that look like? What do you need to look for? I actually have written a guide with a checklist that you can use and take with you as you go around to various retirement residences, so that you're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges. You want to ask the same questions everywhere you go, but we can talk about that in the next video. So thank you for being with me today in this video. Please, as I said, like the video, share it if you feel somebody would benefit from it. Subscribe to the channel, that would really help me. And I will see you in the next one. But before I go, I also want to share what brought me joy today, because this is part of the 30-day challenge. And I'm going to say today what brought me joy was popsicles. I love popsicles. And I don't know where you are, but we have had a heat. I think a lot of places in the world in the last couple of weeks have had major heat waves happening, and we've had a heat wave here in Toronto. And right now, oh, my heart goes out to all the people in Northern Ontario, Northwestern Ontario. There are such terrible wildfires happening, and my thoughts and prayers are with all of the people that are affected, because the smoke, the fires are so bad. There's like 200 fires that are out of control. I don't know that many are out of control, but I think there's at least that many actively burning. And as a result, we're actually feeling the effects here in Southern Ontario. We're getting smoke. You may see behind me, the CN Tower is behind me, but it's hazy out there. And actually today's a little bit better. But some areas have reported even seeing ash falling. You can smell the smoke. It's terrible. So I can't even imagine what it's like for the people who are affected and living in those areas. So my heart really goes out to all of you. Anyway, what brought me joy today was my popsicles. I love a good cold popsicle when it's hot. Yes, it's sugar. It's pure sugar. I'm actually going to look into starting to make some of my own things that are healthier. Stay tuned for that. We may do that together too. Anyway, that will be fun. Thank you again for joining me today, and I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Bye for now.